Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Touch of Class Show, episode 14. I hope everyone had an absolute fantastic weekend. We have a lovely Monday morning here on the East Coast. It's a bit dreary outside as I look out my window. A little bit of rain in the forecast. Hopefully, that rain doesn't hang around too long. It was nice to get some spring weather this weekend. I was down in Baltimore for a wedding, traveling. Was with my girlfriend and her friend. We had a lovely time. It was in the 70s. It was sunny. It was just immaculate weather, really. And then you come back up north and it's just cold, damp rain, and it just makes you miss springtime. So hopefully in the coming weeks we get a little bit better weather. I hope everyone had a fantastic weekend. There was a ton of action in football, in tennis, as well as some other sports such as college basketball. Some upsets in the March Madness tournament. Absolutely incredible stuff from Iowa yesterday as they took down number 1 seed Florida. Unreal bracket buster there. But we will get into the agenda for the show now. Today, we're going to be covering the Carabao Cup Final, Arsenal versus Manchester City. We will then do a Premier League recap from all the matches over this past weekend. And then we will do a Miami Open recap and preview for the rest of the week. If you are excited, let me know in the comments what you thought of anything football or tennis related, or just genuinely how you're feeling. See Molly in the chat. Welcome to the show, Molly. And let's jump right into it. Starting things off with the Carabao Cup Final. Arsenal suffered defeat to Manchester City and still are awaiting that illustrious second trophy under Mikel Arteta, their first since 2020, that FA Cup that just feels so long ago. And it seems like that search is going to have to wait a little bit longer as Manchester City take care of business, and Arsenal fans on the Twitter timeline are just in complete meltdown mode. It's funny, when they lose a big game of football, you start to see the real opinions of this team come out. I see people bashing Saka, not calling him world class, which it's tough to argue whether he is or isn't. I see players or people going in on Declan Rice saying that he doesn't deserve the Ballon d'Or. He's no better than what Christian Norgard was doing at Brentford last year, and he's, not all the hype that he receives. I see people going in on Gyökeres, which is kind of fair because he's not the striker they thought they were getting. I think if they would have got Sesko, they would have been in a much better place. He just is faster. He looks more mobile. He has better link-up play. And you mix all that in with Arteta getting outclassed by Pep Guardiola yet again. Nico Reilly bagged himself both goals in this one, his first coming in the 60th minute on just an abysmal goalkeeping error from Kepa Arrizabalaga in net. I don't know why Arteta is playing Kepa in a big final. Listen, if you want to give your second string goalkeeper minutes, I haven't been following Arsenal's Carabao Cup run. If he's been playing this whole time, sure, I get it, but this is your opportunity to secure your first major trophy in 6 years. And you're not going to put out your strongest squad, your strongest goalkeeper, who, to be quite frank, has been saving you in many occasions this season. He's been playing outstanding. You got to give him credit. But it's ultimately Kepa who is going to be falling on the sword in this one and getting a lot of stick. Nico Reilly also scored in the 64th minute from yet another header. And once City went 2-0 up, they just started coasting. And I saw a Twitter account, I forget the name of it, but they did a little bit of analysis on Mikel Arteta's tactics when they went down 2-0. City stopped pressing the ball. And was wondering when this was gonna happen against Arsenal, because when you press this Arsenal team, they are capable of moving the ball, passing it into Declan Rice, and he then looks to spray it out to the wing, Saka or Trossard, or if Martinelli's playing in that instance, and then they kind of carry the ball, the wing backs overlap, and then you start building your attack that way. The problem is, I've never seen them successfully attack when they have all the time in the world. And what City started doing was not pressuring the center backs at all. They sat four guys directly in front of the back line and just simply followed the ball side to side like this. And Arsenal couldn't find any openings. There were multiple occasions where the center backs are just passing it to the wing backs, and then it's going back and forth, and Declan Rice isn't able to get a hold of the ball. And eventually the ball goes back to Kepa, and he just plays it long, hoofs it forward, hoping for a second chance. And you start to wonder, after 6 years, how is this the football we're seeing from Arsenal? They're probably going to win the Premier League, but it's not pretty. And it was on display yesterday. This Premier League season, every team has down tools. Manchester City has down tools, haven't looked that great. Liverpool are in a downward spiral and are probably going to sack their manager. Chelsea have massive problems going on at the club and are probably going to sack two managers in one season. Manchester United, they were never going to be in a title race. Tottenham were never going to be in a title race. Newcastle were never going to be in a title race. They could have been in a top four race, but we've seen how decimated their squad is playing twice a week. The Premier League title is kind of being handed to Arsenal on a plate here, but how will this result affect them in the Premier League is an interesting thought. Will this start to place a bit of doubt in those players' minds? How are they going to bounce back after this loss? City are, 9 points behind, but with a game in hand, I believe? Let me pull up the table real quick. Yes, they're currently 9 points behind with a game in hand. They win that game in hand, they are 6 points behind. And these two teams still have to play each other. If City win that matchup, they are 3 points behind Arsenal. And that's only one slip up on the case of Arsenal. And then they take the lead in the Premier League. Well, I guess Arsenal would still have it on goal differential. But the point is, Arsenal is not as safe and sound as they might think. They could very well be only 3 points ahead in this title race with 6 games to go come mid-April. Now, it's good that Arsenal got to a final. It's tough that they lost, but you got to anticipate that they're going to be going deep into other tournaments, and they will learn from this. They will learn that they need to be more proactive with the ball. Will they? It's a tough one to say, but this Arsenal team is being found out right now. And speaking of the Premier League, what a wild weekend it was for Premier League fixtures. Some absolutely bonker results, some absolutely thrilling results for not only the Champions League race, but the relegation battle down at the bottom of the table. Let's start from Friday in Manchester United playing Bournemouth. This game finished 2-2, and it was highway robbery that United didn't get all 3 points. Let's pick things up from the second half, because the first half was a bit of a doozy. It was dull. I guess it wasn't a bit of a doozy. It was a bit of a snoozer. That's what I meant to say. It was dull. There was nothing really going on. But in that second half, United started to be a bit more proactive. In the 60th minute, Cunha receives the ball and starts driving at defenders. He's on that left wing. He cuts inside the penalty area and is ultimately taken down. It is a penalty. He's awarded a penalty. Bruno Fernandes steps up in the 61st minute and scores to put Manchester United up 1-0. Now, just 5 minutes later, we have Ahmad receiving the ball, again, cutting in, this time from the right wing, He's cutting in on his left foot, and you see a Bournemouth defender reach out with two hands, not attempting to get the ball, and push him over. Now, with the Premier League, they have already set a precedent where if you have zero intent to get the ball and you make a two-hand push on an attacker, then that should be a nailed-on penalty. It went to VAR, it was checked, nothing was given, and within seconds, Bournemouth are on a counterattack because United are so thrown off. They march down the field, score, make it 1-1. A two-goal swing. Now, United retake the lead via an own goal from a corner kick. Beautiful ball played in by Bruno Fernandes in the 71st minute. And this lead doesn't last for too long because then, in the 80th minute, a ball is played through by a Bournemouth player to Evan Nielsen running in on it. He gets past Harry Maguire, and Harry Maguire puts two hands on him, pushes him over. Was it a little soft? Yes. But was it a penalty? Yes. It was based on the rules of the law. He receives a red card as well. Fine. I'm okay with that because that same instance happened with Cunha a few weeks ago. If you want to set a precedent and you want consistency, I am okay with that. The problem is you can't give a penalty for the Harry Maguire two-hand shove and not give a penalty for the Ahmad two-hand shove. It doesn't add up. There's no consistency there in one match. And ultimately it comes down to the referee being scared to award a second penalty. And I don't know why, because if it's a penalty, it's a penalty. But Bournemouth make it 2-2. And next thing you know, United are walking away with 1 point. Now, based on the other results this weekend, 1 point was fine. Some of the other teams didn't make up ground. And speaking of those other teams, Brighton versus Liverpool. Brighton take this game 2-1, a massive result for the Champions League race. Brighton win it at the Amex and really prevent everything going forward. What's up, Donna Cullen? How we doing? Mr. Touch of Clash Show. Yeah, that's the channel. That's what the channel's all about. Football and tennis. Back to the Brighton-Liverpool match. Danny Welbeck grabbed himself a brace in this one, scoring in the 14th minute and 56th minute. Carriquez scored the lone goal for Liverpool in the 30th minute. And it's Brighton who break through into the top half of the table, watching themselves rise to 10th place, and now just sits 3 points off European places. It's quite impressive, honestly. And that battle is so close. If we look at the teams there, we have Brentford on 46 points, Everton on 46 points, Fulham on 44 points, Brighton on 43 points, even Sunderland might be looking to get themselves into the mix, sat on 43 points as well. Speaking of Fulham and their quest to try and seek European football, they played Burnley and defeat the Clarets 3-1. Another week, more points dropped for Burnley. This team is just so unfortunately destined to go down. It's sad to see, but that's just the nature of the league right now. If you come up in the Premier League and you don't spend big to stay in like Sunderland did, then there's a good chance you're going right back down. Burnley actually took the lead in this game as well. They scored in the 60th minute to make it 1-0. And after that, Fulham just kind of woke up. Fulham scored 3 successive goals without any answer. In the 67th minute via King, in the 73rd minute via Wilson, and then in the 95th minute +5 via Raul Jimenez, as Laurent for Burnley picked up a red card, giving away a penalty, and it was just a disaster for Burnley. Fulham, just a few points off that European spot, like I said, and they're going to be looking to charge through these next few games and pick up some much-needed points and potentially see some European nights at Craven Cottage, which would be quite special. Next, we have Everton versus Chelsea, and Chelsea are just in a bad spiral right now. And they better hope they catch themselves pretty quick because other teams are right there nipping at their heels. As I just mentioned, Beto for Everton bags himself a brace, scoring in the 33rd and 62nd minute. Following that was Njai for Everton, who had an absolute belter. I mean, that goal could not have been more in the top corner if it was mailed with a postage stamp on it labeled top bins. Just incredible stuff from him. If you haven't seen the goal, I highly recommend watching it. It's a stunner. Chelsea now find themselves in a position where they are just a couple of points above Everton, who they've just played, and Everton are going to be looking to sneak into that top 7, trying to get Conference League or UEFA Europa League football, which would be a huge success to them, get some more revenue into the club, and ultimately just kind of grow Everton back to where it should be. Next, we have Brentford versus Leeds, and this game was not too thrilling. It ended in a goose egg stalemate, 0-0. Neither side just really looked up for this one, and the score justified that performance. Just kind of a snooze fest at Ellen Road this weekend, and that's really all there is to say about that game. Nothing really happened, but this next game was stunning. Newcastle versus Sunderland, the derby. So much hype going into this game. Newcastle obviously in a downward spiral as well, just like Chelsea. These teams were just knocked out of the Champions League. They're looking to get back on form in the Premier League, and it's just an unfortunate result for Newcastle. They lose it 2-1, and Sunderland complete the double over Newcastle in the Premier League for the first time since the 2014-15 season. 10 plus years. Absolutely stunning stuff. It was actually Newcastle who opened the scoring as well. Anthony Gordon scored in the 10th minute, but they were just unable to find another goal. Just not really creating as much as they probably should. It was kind of dull football from Eddie Howe's side. Talby scores in the 57th minute for Sunderland, and then it's Brian Bobby who scores in the 90th minute for Sunderland to secure them all 3 points and the derby win. It's daylight Brobbery at St. James Park as the Black Cats steal it in the north. Incredible scenes. The stadium was absolutely buzzing. The away end was chanting the whole game. The Sunderland fans have all of my respect. It's really quite an impressive fan base that they have, and ultimately they're the ones able to laugh at Newcastle this year as they're also higher in the table than them. Next, we have Villa versus West Ham. Villa get back to their winning ways. Much needed win against relegation side West Ham. We have goals from John McGinn in the 15th minute and Ollie Watkins in the 68th minute. And Villa remain in 4th place and gain 2 points on Manchester United, sitting 1 point behind them, and now are 5 points ahead of Liverpool in 5th place. With just 7 games to go, they find themselves in a very favorable position to get into the Champions League. Meanwhile, it's West Ham who currently sit in 18th place as this relegation scrap continues, and it's really starting to be something of who's going to get one win first between West Ham and this next team I'm going to talk about, Tottenham. Tottenham are playing uninspiring football at the moment. They are just an uninspiring club as Tottenham fall 3-0 to Nottingham Forest, the team who was sat in 16th place, just a few points above them, now 2 points above them, and the woes, the embarrassment, the disgrace for Tottenham continues. And let me tell you, if I'm a Spurs fan, I'm just expecting football in the championship going forward into next season, because this, again, if you don't laugh, you'll cry. And I think all Spurs fans should be thinking this way. It's a home fixture in which you would expect to maybe pick up a point, maybe 3 against Forest, a relegation team. You're just trying to do anything to stay up at this point, and you just get battered at home. The club looks so broken. It looks rotten. Every player is showing no emotion. They're just walking around. They're throwing their arms up in the air. They're dropping their heads instantly. Igor Tudor was not the right hire. They should have kept Thomas Franken. It's so confusing why they sacked him when they did. Results were never going to get better. Forest find goals from Jesus, Gibbs-White, and Iwani in the 45th, 62nd, and 87th minute, respectively. Just utter dominance from them, controlling the game on both sides, attack and defense. And Tottenham just in a very poor state at the moment. That wraps up everything we have to talk about football. Now let's move on to tennis, because there were some wild results from the Miami Open this past weekend. Jared, you did miss the Arsenal slander, but no worries. You can actually rewind the live stream and go back to the very beginning and learn how Arsenal's dull tactics could prevent them from winning the Premier League after that abysmal result we saw this weekend. But no, in all seriousness, Arsenal are in a tough spot because City look to have found the way to beat Arsenal, and it's not pressing them. Arsenal need to create way more from open play and need to get their creative players on the ball in the center of the park far more often than they are currently doing. But as we move on to tennis, we will look at the Friday highlights from the Miami Open first. 17-year-old Moises Kouame unfortunately loses in the round of 64 to Yuri Lehechka 6-2, 7-5, but to win that first round of 128 is excellent experience for him, and hopefully he just continues to improve. Yes, Schultes, definitely check out those first 9 minutes or so. It's tough love, you could say. As for Stefanos Tsitsipas, he actually defeated Alex de Minaur, number 6 in the world, switching up from the hat to a headband, and unfortunately, it is not helping his style of tennis as he falls 6-3, 7-6, and Stefanos Tsitsipas continues to dominate this matchup. He's now 12-1 against Alex de Minaur all time. De Minaur just can't get him out of his head, battling his own demons, believe it or not. Raphael Collington out of Belgium, I believe, defeats number 13th overall Flavio Caboli 7-5, 6-3. And Carlos Alcaraz takes care of the young, bright talent João Fonseca 6-4, 6-4. It's great to see Fonseca playing these top players, though, as his level improves every week. He took on Sinner last week in the Indian Wells Open and took him to double tie breaks. And in this one, he only drops 2 breaks to Carlos, and he actually had chances to break Carlos himself. He just was unable to get over the line, and unfortunate for him. Ethan Quinn, the American, takes down Casper Ruud, and Casper Ruud is just playing mediocre tennis, we'll say, at the moment. The Miami court is a bit faster than the Indian Wells court, and we know that Casper Ruud does not do well on fast services. Lucky enough for him, he gets to go home early and start training for the clay season, in which it is his best surface. And he looks to defend his clay title from last season. Riley Opelka defeats Jack Draper 7-6, 7-6, and it just continues to get harder for Draper as he is not used to this setup that he's playing with. You heard him at Indian Wells talk about the gut strings and how he hates playing with them. He wants to go back to the poly strings, but at the same time, it puts a lot of pressure on his, is it tricep that he injured or his shoulder? I'm not sure exactly what it is. It might have been both, to be quite honest. But yeah, massive changes for Draper this season in terms of his setup, and it seems like he's still trying to get used to it. Saturday highlights, we have Ben Shelton falling to Alexander Shevchenko 6-7, 7-6, 6-3. Shelton's slide continues as he is not playing the best quality of tennis at the moment. Hopefully, as he goes on to the clay season, he can improve his game. Alex Mickelson defeats Cam Norrie 7-5, 6-7, 6-4. The American moves on to the next round. Alejandro Tabilo defeats Andrei Rublev 6-7, 6-2, 6-4. Daniil Medvedev, the finalist from Indian Wells, holds on versus the qualifier Rei Sakamoto out of Japan 6-7, 6-3, 6-1. And in that first set that Medvedev lost, that actually went to a 12-point tiebreak. Sakamoto winning it 12-10 in the first set. That surely would have given him a lot of confidence, but he ultimately falls to Medvedev in the end. FAA defeats Martin Fucsovics 7-6, 7-5 as he looks to try to get back on track after kind of crashing out of these past tournaments a little bit earlier than he would have wanted to. Felix looking to get back to winning ways and at least go on a run deep into a tournament. Yannick Sinner made quick work of Damir Jumur. It's a Bosnian name. Not really going to be able to pronounce that one quite well. But he defeats him 6-3, 6-3 as he looks to become the very first player since Roger Federer in 2007 to complete the Sunshine Double. Terence Ottman defeated Arthur Rinderknecht 7-6, 6-3. And it's Camille Majrzak who holds off youngster Lerner Tien 6-2, 4-6, 6-2 to advance to the next round. Lerner Tien, a little bit disappointing from him. Again, the surface in Miami is a little bit faster. You just wonder if that had something to do with it. But we're going to be heading into the clay season shortly, so a little bit of a switch up from surfaces coming shortly. Now, the Sunday highlights from yesterday. We have Arthur Fils toppling Stefanos Tsitsipas after Tsitsipas defeated De Minaur 6-0, 6-1. Fils bageling the Greek as Fils is rocking a new hairstyle, which is such a tough haircut. He's got the dreads rocking. He looks so sleek. He looks so fast. And it sees himself into the round of 16 in back-to-back Masters 1000. Feels looking to move up the rankings this season and gain as much ground as possible on his other fellow young players. Tsitsipas was also moaning, I think about the lighting on the court or something. Classic Tsitsipas just blaming whatever he can rather than his own poor style of tennis. Clearly, it wasn't a factor for Arthur Fils. Both players are playing in the same elements, so it's just really hard for you to just start blaming the lighting in a stadium. But excuses for Stefanos, something that we are used to seeing out of him. Martin Landelus out of Spain, the qualifier, takes down Karen Khachanov 6-3, 7-6, and the big guys in this tournament, top 15 players just going down left and right, dropping like flies. Miami just swallowing up those who it's able to. The most surprising result, though, yesterday was Seb Korda knocking out Carlos Alcaraz. I was stunned listening to this broadcast as I was driving home from a wedding. I was unable to watch, but just hearing what was going on in this match was absolutely stunning. And after I got home, I was able to watch the highlights and look at the stats, and it was pretty even. It was a pretty even matchup. I mean, both of their service games were in the 67, 68, 69% on the first serve. I believe Carlos was actually winning more of his first serve points. Not much disparity in this match. The return rating was pretty similar. The serve rating was rather similar as well. I think that Korda actually only won like 6 or 7 more points than Alcaraz. He did defeat him in the aces department, though. I think Korda had 15 aces or something like that. I'm not 100% sure, but Carlos crashes out of Miami Open in the round of, was it round of 32? Unfortunate stuff for Carlos as he gets ready for the clay season now and heads to the next tournament, which I believe is is it the Monte Carlo next? Let me pull this up. The Monte Carlo Masters is in early April. I doubt we'll see him playing in any of the ATP 250 events. He hasn't played in a 250 event in a while. So the next time we see Carlos will be on court in Monaco. Taylor Fritz took down Reilly Opelka 6-3, 6-4 to see him advance with his big serve. He'll be loving the speed of these courts down in Miami. Now, let's take a look forward and see what's going to be on the radar for not only today, but later this week upcoming. I'm anticipating a Seb Korda versus Taylor Fritz quarterfinal, which would be an all-American affair and a very good quarterfinal, to be completely honest with everyone. Archfields has a very good chance at making the semifinals of this Miami Open Masters 1000, as in his way currently is Valentin Vachereau in the round of 16, and then if he wins that, he will be taking on either Tommy Paul or Echeverry in the quarterfinal. Both very winnable matchup for Fils, as he could see himself into the semifinals of a Masters 1000 tournament. I like Medvedev and Zverev to get to the quarterfinals relatively unscathed. Both favorable matchups for them. Both playing a pretty good brand of tennis at the moment. We saw Zverev go far at Indian Wells, and obviously Medvedev went to the final at Indian Wells. Both playing fantastic tennis at the moment, to be quite honest. Then we have some fiery matchups between Francis Tiafoe and Jakub Mensik, as well as Felix Auger-Aliassime and Terence Ottmann in the rounds of 32. I believe those matches are today. And then we have Yannick Sinner, who faces the all-too-cheeky Corentin Moutet. The Frenchman will be looking to try to knock off Yannick Sinner as he unsettles him with these underhand serves and cheeky drop shots on court. Well, that's everything that I have for tennis, and that's everything that I have for the show. I want to thank everyone for watching, everyone that tuned in. We've got some great tennis upcoming this week. Still working on the Arsenal Premier League video. Was unable to get a little work done this weekend as I was traveling. Please leave a like and subscribe. Also, comment down below what you thought of that Carabao Cup final. What you think of Arsenal going forward, and what you think of Arteta and his performances in these big games. Is he showing his tactical ineptitude, getting outclassed by managers such as Pep Guardiola, which, to be fair to Pep, he is probably top 3 managers of all time. Again, thank you guys for watching. We will be live this Friday again at 8 a.m. Live every Monday and Friday, 8 a.m. to roughly 8:30, 9 a.m. Just seeing how long the show goes. And until then, I'll see you guys next time. Enjoy your week, enjoy some tennis, and hopefully